What's going on, everybody? It's Sunday, August 8th. I think we're on week 11. I don't know. I haven't done a great job of tracking in the last few weeks, and that's probably why we're not as successful as we should be. But yeah, let's get into it anyway. I'll start tracking better. First, I'm just going to run through my, before we look at SPY and all that, I'm just going to run through some trades that I'm probably going to take Monday, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the market. But just get these out of the way first. First one I'm looking at is Crocs short. If you could believe I'd want to short this. Been watching for a while. We don't have ending volume quite yet. As you see, we can get some big volume here, volume candles, and we don't have one yet. So I'm not quite sure I want to. However, if you look at RSI, is pretty overbought. However, nothing is ever overbought, as we can see with GameStop and those other things. But anyway, on the weekly, it looks extended from the moving average. It was just chopping along just fine. We had consolidation, nice breakout, retested the moving average, and we'll just keep going. But now we are starting to get a little bit of volume come in. So I'm assuming we don't have ending volume because we're still kind of at the beginning of the month. So we'll see. Under 139.50, 140, I'd like to get in short. So we had a nice gap up, and then just like snap, it just instead of dropped, it just consolidated for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then kept climbing up. Then we had big volume here, which I would consider that as the beginning of ending volume. And now we're just getting too extended from the moving averages, and I like these topping tails here. This is obviously sellers taking profit, and I think we can get a pretty good drop back to this area first, to 107 area, potentially back to the 200-day moving average, around 100 or so. I'd like to swing this through September and maybe even get down and retest this area of 83. So we'll see how far we get with it. Pretty tight stop. Just if we take out the red bar, candle, whatever. Take out the red candle will be our stop at 143.50, and we'll get in underneath here. If we, depending on where we open Monday, it'll be a different story, but I would expect we're going to open down, and especially if we open below 140, just get in off the open. For September, you can get into August. If you get into August, I would get into 130s at the I'd rather 140s, but 130s if you had to, because we'll probably see another bounce here. But potentially we could move back down to 100 to 85 area. So I like that one a lot, Crocs. Yeah, that's crazy. That's for short. I also like CPRI short. This is the monthly. Clearly you can see the downtrend here, which we're running right into this trend line. We're getting pretty extended here. We had a nice big red bottoming tail here, which will probably most likely refill. As far as the weekly, we are breaking above consolidation here. We bounced off, so it's possible that we can just consolidate longer and then go higher. So we'll make 61, 60, 70 our stop loss. But we've had nice resistance here. It's sold off every time it gets to here, so I would expect it just to sell back off, and we'll get in under 50. Let's get even closer here. On the daily, get in under 58.75 into this resistance area, which we've sold off multiple times, and I expect to pull back to the 200 would be 47, 48 area with the, that's for August, with the potential for September would just be to create a kind of a channel and just keep going lower, and we could maybe even see some COVID lows. So CPRI puts, probably do 60 puts on this one actually, and if it hits 60, I'll just get out. 60, yeah, I'll get in 60 puts, and if it gets above 60, I'll just get out, and then just keep getting back in. CPRI short. Now let's look at some longs. AEP, I really like this one. Zoom out a little bit on the weekly. You can see we're putting in a nice wedge here. It's just been chopping up. Utility company, sold way off during COVID, but I mean, it's held the 200. It's above it. Now we've got kind of this wedge and breaking out, and we retested it on the daily, and starting to bounce. So come back up, and now we have a flat top here. We have a little bit of resistance here. This is a resistance area, so it's possible, but I would assume all these sellers already got out, and that's why it ripped so high here. Hit a little bit of resistance, pulled back some, back to the 200, which is a very strong buying opportunity for investors. And I would say we are in a buying cycle in utilities right now. Over this, we'll put a little alarm just to make sure I don't forget, because I always forget. AEP calls over 90. 90 is a even number. I like that, so we could do 90 calls with the potential. Our first target would be 94, 100, 104. So, which could go up pretty quick. If we break 90, we'll shoot up to 94, 95 pretty fast, and we might get out at 94. But if you get September calls, you could maybe get back to 100. So, yeah, AEP long. BMBL, I like Bumble long. We were in it here when it broke this. Broke this trend line. We got in and rode it up to 60, which was nice. Actually, I don't think I made it that far. I think I got out at 58 or something. Yeah, 58. But anyway, that was a nice run, and I think we're going to get another one. Now we've got another falling wedge and higher low, kinda. And I think we can break this and rip, because again, IPOs, once they break a downward trend, then you're pretty much set, and it's going to double the IPO price. So if we IPO'd at 70, then our target long term will be $140. Not in August. Our target will be back to 60 again, probably. But we'll see. We'll see how long we hold it. 60s, 63 possibly. But let's just shoot for 60 and get out. 59.50. Get in that. Wait until it breaks, because what it might do is it might come back up, dump the last of the sellers, and then break it and go. So we'll wait on that one, but I will let you know when we get in there. CVS. Let me zoom out here. Is putting in this huge kind of curving deal, whatever you want to call it. It's not a cup and handle yet, but depending on what it does this week, I think it's going to bounce around 76.50, because that was prior resistance. We've already broken this here, so, but this area might serve as support. If you look at the daily, we've got a triple bottom now, and we bounced green when a lot of stocks were red on Friday. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and if you look at this, is the same pattern on the daily, this kind of thing, as it is on the zoom out. So we kind of got the same pattern, but I think we can just do calls with our stop around 50 or 79.30, and we can catch a bounce again. And I mean, your first target would be 84, but really you could start retesting these areas again and putting in higher highs. This would be, I would consider CVS for long-term investment. Back to the all-time highs of 112 area. So I like CVS long with the tight stop loss at 79.30. Let's do that one. KN, I got in on Friday, but I like it. It kind of looks like a cup and handle, which we broke. If you look here, someday I'll learn how to use this, but we kind of had this downward thing, and now we have a flat top at 2050. So if we can get over 2050, I'm going to add to my position. I got in early just hoping for a gap over that area, but really 2050 is your entry, and get into KN calls. We bounced off the 200 moving average triple bottom. This is kind of similar to what I was talking about with CVS. 1, 2, 3 area, whatever. And then we'll bounce higher. And I think this one was pretty cheap. That's why I got in September calls. I like it on the weekly. It's never come back from its IPO. If we can get over here, then we can start getting a pretty dramatic move higher, and up to 40, 50 bucks. If we opened at 32, then eventually get up to 60, and maybe get some leaps for this one. KN looks good. I talked about DDD, and I did not get in, and I wish I would have, but it's still looking really good on the daily. I think this is 3D printing or something. Anyway, we've got the 200 moving average here. We bounced once, bounced twice, we got in. I would like for it to bounce on this area one more time around 25 and get in, or if we take out this, fill this gap, then we can get in 30 calls here. If we break down to the 24.50 area, 25 area, then I'll get in 25 calls. But I did not enter that, and I wish I would have, but that's okay. We'll get another chance. Real quick, what happens is when a stock falls, it gets to a place where the institutions, especially the 200 moving average, they say, okay, I want this stock, so I'm going to start buying it. And then it comes back down, they're like, okay, yeah, I really want this stock. And then the third time, if it tests that area, or even if it bounces above it, then investors are like, okay, clearly this is the bottom. It's not going any lower than this, so let's get in. So these are the early people, the smart money they call it, right? And then you have over here, you'll have the actual investors come in. These are insider traders and all that kind of stuff. But then you got Bank of America and JP Morgan come in and they say, man, this is strong. It's bounced 3 times now off the 200. It's going to rip and it's going to go back to all-time highs, which for this was pretty stinking high. $100. Let's shoot for $100. I like this. One note about this, and I didn't say anything last time about some of our other calls like CODX and BTBT, is float lockup. When you get a huge volume spike like this, and right here, and you've got a lower float stock, that means an institution bought most of the shares that were available. So when you have a very low float and somebody already bought those, the next time it moves big, it's going to move really big. Look at GME. And I should have known this, but I don't know what I was thinking back then. I just thought, GME at $45, there's no way. But here's what happens. Okay. Out of nowhere, you get volume come in, right? Then the next time the volume comes in, it starts to move farther because there are less shares to trade, and so the spread between the bid and the ask when you're buying shares gets wider. So then you get to really big volume, and it's really not that big. It's only double what this was. But you get the really big volume, and then it can jump, 20 to 40. That was, literally 100% return in one day on not very, it was a lot of volume. But the reason it moves this high and not this high, because this is an average trading day. Actually, it's even less than that. But these days here are like average trading days. It only moves, 50 cents to $1. And then when you have the float locked up because investors bought all of the majority of the shares, you've locked up your float, and then things will just rip. So if we look at BTBT, which I also missed and I did not get back in, come over here, it's not done, by the way. I'd like to get in at over 20. It's going to be the next squeezer. But you had somebody come in and buy all of these shares, and you left pretty large green bar. But now if you compare the size of these bars, you have 860 to 460, let's say. So we got a $4 move here on this much volume, which was 200 million volume. So that's 200 million there. $4 on 200 million. Then you come over here and we had 1660 to 1160. So we had a $5 move, right? $5 move here on this much volume, which was 57 million. So the float is locked up on BTBT right now. That means the spread is extremely wide. So people buying shares, by the way, I think this one's going to go up to, $60-$80 before it finally peaks. But once we can get above this resistance, this is still valid. We might pull back a little bit to this area and just let things catch up, but we might squeeze. So over 1960, getting calls on BTBT. But that's the same idea on these other ones. DDD. We had the floats getting locked up here, and then it just rips. ANY is another one. As you can see right here, we had float locked up. Big volume came in on a pretty large green candle. But then look at this green candle here, is the same size as this one, but on no volume. So then that's why we had this huge pop, because we had all of the short sellers trying to get out. However, now we broke above this wedge here, and I think it'll start going back up. So ANY, I like 5 calls on ANY. I was also in shares. I think it's also 3D, just like, so it looks like a theme. DDD and ANY look like they're going to go higher, at least up to 16 on ANY, maybe 23. But CODX was on our list, which I tried, and nothing yet, but same idea. And again, like I said last week, the reason I'm in these is because, one, medical stocks and high shorted stocks tend to pop before the market crashes. But also, like I was saying today, the float's getting locked up here. So somebody bought all this. So when you see a candle that's this size, the volume bar that's this size, it's going to move the same amount as this bar. So if we can get over $11 on CODX, I still like that. For ride that up to 20 at least, if not higher, up to 30, 32. CODX long. Then I want to talk about one before I forget is gold. This one's going to be kind of my lotto play. Gold tanked on Friday, and I'm hoping for a bounce because on the weekly we have a pretty strong trend line here. We bounced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we break it, we break it, and there's really not a pattern to short it either. So I wouldn't necessarily short gold unless you wanted to just do it a little bit. But anyway, so what we'll use is GLD, and I'm going to get in calls. Let's say 165 calls for September, and then if that succeeds and we get above 172 again, then I'll start getting leaps, and we might be seeing this pattern, right? A little one, then a bigger one, then a bigger one, and then a really big one, right? So that might be what we see on gold. We've also got a super big cup and handle, and with inflation the way it is, so we got a nice dip, and then this handle here which we broke. But I mean, we got time, we got plenty of time. If gold is going to $5,000 an ounce, double what it is right now, then we got time. No rush to get in gold. Let's review real quick. Twitter, I still like short, and I'm bummed because for some reason I got out on Thursday. I thought I was just going to lose premium, so I got out, and then we got a really good drop. We have this diamond pattern here. How do you clear all? Wish I knew how to use this. We had a really nice diamond pattern here. So your target would be, or your expected move would be the distance between the top and the bottom. So if we got 65 and the top was 73, so we got an $8 move. So the expectation is when we break here, we'll have an $8 move. So from 67 was the break. We're looking at 59.60 area, which was what my goal was originally, $60 right here. So I still like it short. If we can get a kind of a breather candle on Monday and come back up to 68 or 67.50, let's get back in puts for September. 65 puts and ride it down to 60 or lower if the market crashes. I was trying to short housing, VNQ, and it just keeps wanting to go higher. Actually, it's just chopping around. It's not going higher. But we kind of had this double top that we broke, but then we've just been consolidating and chopping around and nobody knows what to do. So I'm still bearish on VNQ because, again, the weekly, we're running into resistance here. And I'll probably just get back in and make like 108 my stop loss and get in November puts or something. If you look at this monthly, we're up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going on our seventh green month in a row, and so that's due a pullback at least to 96 area. So if we can get into 105 puts, or even like 107 if they have them, I don't remember. I was in 107 for August, but I think I'll do 105 for September, and we'll ride it back down to 95, 97 area. So I still like VNQ. I still like Zillow. We made some money on that one. However, I almost want to go long here because we've got some good support. So for the short term, we've got a really good, this was our prediction that it would come back down here and, complete this here. But it didn't. It bounced, and it bounced once, twice, 3 times, and then it stopped here 4th time. So you could, on high volume, so you could, with pretty high confidence, buy calls on Z just for a day trade or overnight swing. Make your stop loss, just say $100 even, just for fun. But we might gap down below this area and then we'll short it. But this one will be really easy because if we break 99.50, we'll continue to short it. If we break above this channel again, then we will go long, and our target will be 115. So I like Zillow long right now for a bounce, and also, like I said on that, when you get a bounce here, and then you get a bounce here, and so it'll kind of go up, and investors say, okay, time to buy some more. Come back up, come back down. Okay, I want to buy more, but this time I know this is the bottom, so I'm going to go all in. And then they go all in, and Zillow starts to just take off. So that might be the end of the selling, and we'll get in calls and retest the 200-day moving average at 125, but our target for now will just be 115. So 100 calls, stop loss 99.50, and target 115. That is, if you wonder why I think that, because FUTU has done that. Last time it came down to this area of support, which is exactly $100, which is even round number. People like those stuff, or those trades. So it came to 100 and they bought it right back up. So I expect Zillow to kind of do the same thing. Now I kind of like this short because I don't like Chinese stocks. I think they're junk, and I think they're all scams. Now if we break below 100 again, I think we can finally get to our original target here, 50. So we got a little bit of resistance at 94, but I think the way it's moving, I think we can just dump. So XLI, no, that's not it. FXI. If you look at Chinese stocks in general, they're under the 200-day moving average. They're just not doing well at all, and I think they're just going to keep going down, to be honest. Come down here to COVID lows 32, 28 area. So I think you could short stuff like BABA, but I think FUTU looks the best. BABA broke this upward trend and is now bouncing off the 200-day moving average. So I expect it to go lower. Man, there's so much going on. I don't know. We'll just leave it at that for now. So, that's the list. However, let's take a look at SPY on the 1 hour chart. We've been stuck in a channel. That's the reason none of these trades have been working the last 2 weeks. As you can see, we've been stuck in this channel. And I think we're going to have a big move down finally. I keep saying that every time, and then it just skyrockets back up. But we're going to do one of two things, and it will confirm bull market or bear market. And everybody says bear market in August, but that's not necessarily true because last year August was really green. So we got to get that out of our heads and quit trying to predict the market and just let charts tell us what to do. So we've been stuck in this channel, bounce up here, bounce, whatever, right? We finally broke out on Friday. Now we have a little bit of a pattern here, 1, 2, 3, but since we've been consolidating, we could potentially just break out and just go to all new highs like 460, on SPY is what I would say. But here's the thing. This is what you want to pay attention to. When you have this area of consolidation, they call it contraction, you get a breakout, but that might not be the actual move they're going to make. So you want to wait for confirmation. So if we break back into the channel, then you could buy puts at least down to 50% of the channel. So let's go back to SPY. I've got alarms set here. If we break into this channel, let me zoom in a little bit. So I'm calling this the top because that's where we bounced here. So let's just say this is the top of the channel, not these things. Let's say if we break underneath this line, then we'll get 442 puts and ride it down to 440. And if we don't bounce, then our next target will be down here, 437, right? If we come down, if we bounce off here, come down, and then start to bounce here, then don't buy any puts. So if we break here, then we'll go higher. However, in the long term, this might not be the plan. If you think about how market makers, this is called the market maker pattern. If you think about how it works, they want to get as much interest in a stock to push it as far as they can without having to put their own money in it. So they rely on things like short squeezes and dumping shares. So here's what happens. You get a fake breakout, false breakout. I said those are always stronger. False breakout is always stronger than a breakout. So let's say here's the line. You broke out, but then came back into the channel. You went all the way to the bottom of the channel right here, right? And so everybody said, wow, that's crazy. I'm going to short it now because it went all the way back down. So you get all these shorts trapped right here. I didn't know I could draw on here. You get all these shorts. They're like, yes, this thing's going to tank. It was a fake breakout. It's going to crash. And then the market makers finally step in and they say, nope. So they push it up a little bit and you get above this median price again. And that's when the shorts get squeezed out. And these guys that bought, see, they bought here and then on their way back down they sold, but that wasn't their plan. Their plan was to squeeze it up here. So breakout, false breakout again, then they get up here and you get a short squeeze. And that's what's been happening to SPY like 100 million times this year. If you look at Tesla, I was short Tesla on Friday. This is an example. You had a little bit of a drop, and then a consolidation, and then a larger drop. So we popped, faked people out, started to crash. So the market makers were shorting the stock here. They made it crash. So all these people that just bought are now getting their stop loss hit, which drives it down. But that wasn't the move. The move is right here. So, and I don't know if you can see it better on 5 minute. So you had this channel right here, which is kind of like what SPY's doing right now. It's bouncing. You could even make it down here, I guess, but the middle of it would be right around here. So we sold off, and then the market makers are like, all right, let's cause a short squeeze. Instead, this was actually a long squeeze, which makes people dump their shares. But it started to bounce in this channel. It broke out. Everybody's like, oh good, this is a double bottom, it's going higher. So they get in long, and then they shake them out. And then they're like, okay. So then it starts coming up here, and we see bottoming tails in green. They're like, oh good, it's going to go back up. And so they start buying again, and then the shorts hit. And everybody that bought this morning, and not only this morning, but the last week, all get their stop losses hit. And it just makes it tank. So that's exactly what might happen with SPY. We've got, we'll look at SPY. That's fine. So we've got this channel, and we're breaking out of it right now. If we break back in it, then we don't want to get in quite yet, but not long term anyway. You can scalp it. Your first target will be like 438. But anyway, we'll see what this does, because it might break down, bounce, and then if it starts to curl down again, that's where we'd short it, and we short the market. So all that to say, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're going to wait for SPY to break 442, get up to 443, 444, and see what happens. If it starts to dip, we can wait till we break the channel. We get back in 440 puts, write it down to 448, 438 area, and see what it does there. If everybody's like, oh man, the market's about to crash, then you actually buy calls, because it'll bounce and it'll squeeze up, and then we'll see 460 on SPY. So we'll see. If we break back into the channel here, then we'll make this move all the way back up. So anyway, you guys have a good weekend, and message me if you got any questions. Talk to you later.